Bonjour. Welcome back to another episode of the Saints Squad Show. Je suis Darrion Gray, the Who Dat Dish. I'm practicing my French since the Saints are going to France in 2026.
John Hendrix, New Orleans football. I've also practiced my French. Un match de football américain en France avec les Saints.
Yeah.
Allons-y.
Appel Lance Moore, the former wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. And while we're on the topic, are they flying us out there with the team?
It's the Saints Squad. Everything New Orleans Saints, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from down in the Big Easy, the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Saints Squad Show, starting now.
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Saints Squad Show. I think that's it for the French today, but who knows? Maybe we'll change it up. Yeah. This is part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every Monday and Thursday. We have a unique expert group here to break down and give you a fun and informative show on everything New Orleans Saints. Today, we're going to be playing a little bit of a game, having some fun. We'll close out talking about the Saints going to Paris, but that game looks like if this player was on the board, would we trade back? We're not Mickey Loomis, so the answer may be yes. But we'll kick off today's episode with a look into the perfect offseason. We'll dial it all up. Free agencies on the horizon. Then you have the draft. And John, you've always said, I'm not talking draft till we get to free agency. We got to figure what that's like. So what are you doing in free agency before we get to the draft to make this your perfect offseason?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways to go. I think obviously in-house retention is a big thing, right? I don't know if they're going to keep DeMario and Cam. I'd like for them to keep Cam for sure, and I'd love for them to keep DeMario, but I think that leaves some people out in the cold, if you will. Guys like Taysom Hill, I don't expect to be back. And it's interesting seeing what Mike McCarthy's doing in Pittsburgh and Clint Kubiak becoming a head coach now. I wonder there may be some players that follow, like a Cesar Ruiz. Could he use them in Las Vegas and stuff? So I'm really interested to see in a lot of things. Lance giving that meme little piece, and he's out now, right? But I think for me, a perfect offseason is pretty straightforward. And I'm not going to necessarily focus on the players, but that's for a future episode because things are going to change from now until we get to the new league season. But I'm going after an interior guard. I'm going after finding a right guard, somebody who's going to replace Cesar Ruiz, right? And look, I love Cesar to death. Again, I've said that many times on this pod, but they got to just go spin there. And I'm going to probably go ahead and bring back Dylan Radins in free agency. I'm going to also bring back Luke Fortner, but I'm going to invest in that right guard position just because I think it's going to just help that young line a lot. I think paying somebody is the way to go. And even at left guard, I don't know that I'm settled. So I might look and see if I can get a twofer, but I definitely have got to get some interior guard position filled. That's probably my first and foremost thing that I want to do. And then I'm going to go find a free agent tight end, some type of weapon for Tyler Shough. I like the concept of finding, a playmaker in general, right? But for me, I want to find it on a tight end. I want to find somebody who can block. So I want to find somebody who can catches. I mean, I would throw out somebody like an Isaiah Likely. He's going to have a lot of interest on the market, but he's somebody I really do like a lot. And I think he's going to fit in whatever team he goes to. But, you saw what Baltimore paying Mark Andrews. I just think that's kind of all but spells it out for somebody like him. And then on the defensive side, I'll do some shopping. They're going to do some shopping, right? But I think when you look at the needs, you still need to look at maybe a low-risk pass rusher, low-risk guy in the interior. And then in the draft, when I get there, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's best player available. Is it Downs there? Is somebody there? But I'm using that to find at least one player that has the starting upside that could start for me on day one. Doesn't necessarily have to start on day one, but I think, top to bottom, retaining some of their own is important. Trying to figure out some of these biggest decisions. We saw the salary cap over $300 million. Lance, you sure you don't want to come back and play?
I would love to. I would love to.
I know, it's
Sign
crazy. Yeah, it's
wild.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody will. I mean, shoot, somebody would. But I think it's pretty straightforward. I think the perfect offseason for me, I mean, everybody would say, oh, let's sign this, let's sign that. But I think there's just a couple of must address positions in free agency to where it sets you up for the draft, but they still got some work to do on their own, which is going to be equally as important as trying to find some new talent too.
Yeah. One guy you didn't mention when you talk about in-house retention, Alante Taylor, probably the biggest name. And I think it may also be one of the most difficult to predict, which you don't, because you quickly said he's gone.
Yeah. I just think it's, I just have a tough time believing that he's not going to entertain offers on the free agent market. And I've said this on the pod, but I think the Saints have a price tag in mind. I think his camp and his agent are be like, well, let's go see what's out there. And then it's going to be kind of the highest bidder type situation. I don't think the Saints are going to be in that boat. I think the Saints will feel that they can find somebody to fill that role for them, whether it's in-house, they might have a couple of ideas, or they go to the draft, or they'll find a slot corner that they can pay on a 1-year deal, or maybe a 2-year deal with Vetman or something like that. But I just don't think Alante's back here.
Yeah, I think that I also think he's going to go. I think he's going to command more money than the Saints look for. Lance, before we get into yours, you feel like Alante stay, go, let him walk? What are you doing?
Look, if I'm his agent, I'm going to advise him to test the market, right?
Yep.
Like, it's rare that you don't allow a player to get to the open market and they reach top dollar. In his mind, he offseason, he's been saying, or his camp or whoever has been saying, that he wants to be paid like a top tier outside corner. If the Saints have drawn a line in the sand, basically saying at this point, we've got 2 outside corners. You are basically a very good player, but you are our slot corner. You are a nickel back. You are a third corner. We can pay you X amount of dollars. And I'm sure they've offered him deal after deal after deal since halfway through the season, probably. And for him, it's just smart to not accept any of those deals then, or even up until now. He's already gotten to this point, so he might as well wait it out another month and some change to hit free agency and see what's out there for him. I definitely don't think he's going to be back. If he is back, I hope he gets a good enough number for him, but I don't think it's going to end up being the number that he hopes for to get back to the black and gold. And then, to me, what's a perfect offseason? I think perfection is something that can't be attained, but we're always chasing it, first and foremost, right? So there is no perfect offseason, but what does a good offseason look like? A good offseason, to me, looks like one where you have improved, and hopefully improved tremendously. We don't want to start the season next season, so 2026 season, the same team that we were in 2020. We want to be a better team. So how do we do that? First and foremost, guys got to remain healthy. That, to me, is paramount. If you've got good players and they're working out, getting hurt in OTAs, minicamp, training camp, then the offseason is messed up. We don't want that. We want guys to stay healthy. Let's knock on some wood real quick and make that happen. Second, Tyler Shough has to continue shucking it up. He's got to continue doing what he's doing as far as embracing his role as the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. One of 32 jobs in the entire world, and he seems to be doing it glowingly. I think we're going to see a lot of him this week in San Fran, hopefully doing a ton of different things. Hopefully he's making a whole bunch of money as well, but he's got to do those things to continue to embrace that role. And from what we've seen, he's going to continue to do that. Like, he understands the responsibility that he has, and he understands what it takes already to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. So that to me is another step in the right direction. Next thing up, free agency. What are we going to do? I agree with both of you guys. The interior of the offensive line has to be addressed. I think multiple people in those positions in the interior of the offensive line, whether it's retention, whether it's going out and signing guys, whether it's paying guys, which is something that we haven't done in the interior of the offensive line, or really the offensive line overall, in a long time. There have been a lot of high first and second draft picks, but not too many guys who are saying, hey, we like this player. He could really fit well with us. He's been a good player in other places. Let him be an anchor on our offensive line. I think that makes a ton of sense. The edge position, I think that's a position that should be in free agency, but I don't know that we're going to be aggressive enough to try to go after somebody that's going to command top dollar. We don't really have that much money to spend, but I think Cam has earned the right to test free agency, to see what's out there, and or have the ability to sign with the team that he thinks is a little more ready to contend than the Saints are. I think I'm a reasonable person. I think watching what the Patriots did from years ago to this past season has been incredible. Do I think that lightning in the bottle is somebody's gonna catch it twice? Do I think next year's Super Bowl winning team will have 4, 5, or 6 wins? Doubtful, but I do think we are an ascending team like that Patriots were the previous into this year. But if Cam feels like a team could potentially be a Cam Jordan away from making it or winning a Super Bowl, he's earned that right. He doesn't owe it to anybody to come back anywhere. I would love to see him in the black and gold. I would love to see him win a Super Bowl in the black and gold. I would totally understand if he chose to go somewhere else for the latter year or years that's left in his career. Another position, tight end, I agree. But something that we haven't talked about, and I know Dylan will be excited about this, is punter. We need a punter.
Bring back Thomas.
We had trouble.
Just do it.
I mean, yeah, look, that dude's kicking 50, but clearly he's a better player than the punter that we currently have. And I think that's something that we cannot overstate the importance. I know it only happens a couple of times a game if you're really good, but those plays are super important. They could be game-changing plays. Obviously, you can flip field position. You can pin a team back. I mean, like, having a good punter is a serious weapon for both your offense and your defense. And we can't just say, okay, this is the guy that's been our punter. We're going to keep him as our punter. Or we have another undrafted rookie guy come in and test. You know, we do a competition between these two, and then the rookie is not much better than the guy we just had. I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want to invest in the position. And when you look at the dollar amounts, it's really not that terrible when it comes to the money that the guys are making these days. Then it comes to the draft. To me, playmakers. Running back, receiver, tight end. When you didn't invest in free agency, if Alante does leave, you're going to need another slot guy. You could never have too many pass rushers, defensive linemen up front. I think our safety position is pretty solid. I'm interested to see if we will add, which, I mean, I know we'll probably do, but yeah, I think just doing whatever it takes to improve the roster, create more depth, stay healthy. Shough, keep doing what he's doing. I think blueprint is there. They had a great offseason last year. Let's build upon that and continue to grow this roster and make sure that we are a better unit all around once 2026 kicks off.
Would be the 5th punter in 5 years. That's got to be some kind of record, right? Gillikin, Headley. Then it was oh gosh, the other guy, can't remember. Then it was Kroger. I mean, it's just yeah.
It's a reason.
A-ball I was thinking about. I
yes,
think about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
A-ball
reason.
then Kroger. Golly, crazy.
Golly. So I'll get into mine. It's a little bit more specific, right? In the sense that bring back DeMario, bring back Cam preferably, but bring back DeMario. I think that's important as far as retention goes. That's where I'm going to stop. Give me those 2 veterans back. In free agency, I would like to see the splash move be a guard. You need to go get a starting caliber left guard, in my opinion, because I just feel like they're not going to trade Ruiz. So let's in this hypothetical, they don't trade him, right? They don't ditch him. He's still there on the right side, even if it's for 1 more year. But give me a left guard that you're willing to give a 3-4 year contract to, not a guy who you want to bring in for 1 year, unless it's someone like Mekhi Becton, who you feel like I caught lightning in a bottle with in Philadelphia. I may try to do it again. There's at least a track record there that I can understand, but I still wouldn't be comfortable giving a multi-year contract. So either give me a splash or someone you have familiarity with, such as Becton. And then I would look for one of these 2. Either give me a running back, Kenneth Walker, or try to give me another edge rusher, right? And I think that Kayvon Chaisson would be a great pick. I think he probably stays in New England. depending on how the money looks, but I think that would be a pretty solid addition. And if we're going to stick with players who have familiarity, Leonard Floyd, I believe, is a free agent, and he didn't have a highly productive year in Atlanta, which probably is going to keep him from having that much. But in Brandon Staley's last year in San Francisco, Floyd was an 8.5 sack player. I think that would be a pretty good player to have on the side of Chase Young. And it also wouldn't stop you if you felt like you had a pass rusher you loved in the first round of the draft to pick at 8. So I like that veteran aspect of it. Worst case, he becomes a rotational piece. When we get to the draft, I'm looking at Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs. Obviously, this depends on if you get Kenneth Walker, but Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, I think are real studs for where you could pick at 8. And then give me a wide receiver or an edge rusher in the second round. That ballpark right there makes me feel good. A lot of the draft picks are contingent on what happens in the free agency. So if you get an edge rusher, maybe you feel the ability to be a little bit more patient. You go get a running back, you may not feel the need to get Love. But I would, in general, like to address guard in free agency, another guard in the mid rounds to replace Ruiz in a year or maybe halfway through next year. Give me a wide receiver early. Give me a running back in free agency or early, and give me an edge rusher in free agency or early. Those are my 5 free agency / early draft picks.
Yeah. I know we got to get to break here shortly, but man, there's a lot of free agent running backs. I mean, Najee Harris, Rico Dowdle, Rashad White,
Reese Hall.
Walker you talked about. Reese Hall is a big one. Javonte Williams is another one. I mean, there is a lot of talent that to hit the market in running back. And I mean, I'm all about bringing in competition. I've talked to you guys about Kendre Miller. I'm really concerned about him. I like the prospect of Devin Neal. I don't know what's going to happen with Alvin too. Like you want to say Alvin's definitely back, right? But we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like we really don't know at this point what's going to happen. And so really going to be fascinating how this offseason goes.
And we don't know who's going to be available at 8. But that's why we get to make it up as we go. And I'm going to give you a list of players who are available in these hypotheticals. And John, Lance, I would love to know if this player is on the board. Does it say I'm for sure not going to trade back? Let's play this game as we continue with today's episode of the Saints Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. The game is almost here, right? The big game is Sunday, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right, and it pays. It feels good in regular life, but it doesn't pay all the time. PrizePicks allows it to kind of help your pockets a little bit. This week, PrizePicks is having a special max discount for the big game, and live in the app right now, Drake May needs 1 passing yard for the max discount to win. I think he gets it. I don't know. Guess I'm a gambling man, but I would bet on him getting at least 1 passing yard. PrizePicks is super simple to use, and the whole format is clean. It's easy. You get more or less on 2, or you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections. You get it right, you win. It's simple. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it feels good to be right. Today's episode is also brought to you by Drip Drop. And kicking off the year feels good. It has to be the goal, right? Honestly, hydration is the easiest win. I got myself a little water right here because it was quick and it was easy. And I've been drinking Drip Drop so much that I'm still waiting for my next one to come in. That's the only reason I'm drinking this standard H2O. But I'm telling you right now, it doesn't get the job done like Drip Drop does. That's where it always comes in, guys. It's doctor developed. It's proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer focus. So I can actually read these stinking ad reads, right? Drip Drop is the key to that. I do it every day. You think I could do it without Drip Drop? Never that. Elevated mood. That's why I get to smile. Drip Drop. Everything is there. And I love that it uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for rapid absorption. So it's not sitting here taking forever to kick in. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. As we continue rolling with the Saints Squad Show, it's time to play a little bit of a game where we put our general manager hats on. And I know what the viewer may be thinking right now. The Saints don't trade back. Why are we even playing this game? Because we can all hope. All right. As a kid, I had a lot of hope. I had a lot of hopes as a kid. I had a lot of wishes, and we're not Mickey Loomis. So we're going to play the hypothetical of if this player were on the board, would we trade back? So think about your favorite prospect in your head, and I'll probably say them. Let's start off with one that's a hot commodity. Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love is on the board at 8. Your phone rings because everybody wants the best running back in the draft. Are we telling people let it ring? Are we picking up the phone to at least listen? Or are we saying, yeah, I would definitely entertain? How are we feeling about this, fellas?
I mean, you got to listen. I'm a firm believer of listening to the offer, right? Because you have so many minutes and so much time to figure out what's going to be done. And it's obviously we sit there and say, why does it take 10, 15 minutes for the first round and stuff? Like, calls happen. You get calls before. We're going to hear about the Saints are interested in trading up. You're going to hear all this stuff. It happens every year. Every team's interested in trading up or doing all this stuff. So that being said, I'm listening. I just don't know what the compensation. I want to know what the team is. How many spots am I trading back? And then what am I gaining? That's the biggest thing that I'm going to look at. Because, obviously when you trade, Jimmy Johnson had projected up or put the draft pick formula and all that. Like it was 93 or whatever it was. I mean, that's a little bit dated. So if there's a chance to move back 1 or 2 spots and I'm gaining a second round pick in the process or something like that, I'd have a tough time saying no. I love Jeremiah Love, though. I think he would help this offense. It would just be very difficult to not trade back if somebody dangles a nice little carrot in front of me for only like a pick or 2 back. Who's behind the Saints?
So because how many picks you want me to go back? 3?
Go 3 back. Let's see, 3 back. Okay. Yeah.
Kansas City, Cincinnati, Miami. That's the next 3 picks after you.
2 of those teams might need a running back.
You're right.
2 of those teams might need a running back.
Right. So then after, I'm trying.
There it is.
Dallas. Dallas is there too, depending on what they do at running back in free agency. They may want to.
Yeah, like I said, Javonte Williams is a free agent, so that's interesting.
I agree with John. It's just business, right? Like you've got to. I'm not saying you have to, right? They might love the player. He might be the number 1 player on their draft board. They say, no way, Jose. We're drafting this guy. Send the card in right now. But I think they should listen to any and all offers that come in. That doesn't mean they have to consider them. That doesn't mean they have to trade back. That just means that they're doing their due diligence as far as listening to what could be offered to them in return for the 8th overall pick. I like the player. I would want to draft a player. I think this player could be great on this team for a long time. But I'm still going to pick up that phone and listen to what would it take? Yes. Honestly, like, judging by the teams that are behind us, especially 3 or 4 of them that need backs, I might start playing them against each other.
That's right.
Called and they offer me this. So-and-so called and they offer me this. Look, we have backs. I'm not saying we have a Jeremiah Love. We still do have a Kamara and some other younger backs, some more unproven backs. But I don't think, I would be crazy if I told you that Cincinnati had the same backfield lineup that we have. They do not. Like, they are definitely a team that would look at Kansas City. I think both of their backs are free agents. So, like, you telling me Jeremiah Love and Patrick Mahomes together? Oh, man. Like, you could probably get something pretty significant. And I'm not maybe not even talking about a 2nd round pick here. Just move back a couple spots. A team might be starving enough to be talking about a 1st in the following year. I mean, if it gets to that, I feel like you gotta do it. If you're gaining a 1st round pick in this trade, you gotta do it. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, and you know what? Let me shift it because you're right. Right, if the phone calls, what is going to hurt? You got 10, 15 minutes, answer, right? So let's pivot this to not just listening. What are the players, and I'm going to name them, you have to blow my mind with the trade for me to want to trade back? Like, I love Jeremiah Love this much that you're going to have to blow my brain with this one. Or blow my mind, not blow my brain. Blow my mind with this one. Put a whole new meaning to the word war room.
Golly. Man, this man's just telling you might as well just kill me now. Golly.
I'm not coming up off love. Listen. All right. There's some who will die for those they love. But listen,
I feel like he's one of the guys.
Okay.
Jeremiah Love. I feel like he's that dynamic. He's that good of a player. And again, I think he fits what Kellen wants to do offensively. I mean, if he's there at 8, it's going to have to take a pretty significant offer. I mean, I don't think a second round pick is enough. That's just how I feel.
Look, I'd say this and add to that. If they're investing in the offensive line and Love has the potential that he has drawn comparisons to, I will just put it that way. He's drawn a lot of comparisons. But bottom line is he can run and he can catch out of the backfield. He can be electric. And so the Saints don't have one of those guys on their roster, right? You just don't have that type of threat. And that's no disrespect to the guys on the roster. But that type of caliber player we've seen in the NFL make such a dramatic impact on the team that they're on. So if I'm investing in the line and then I still looking at my options, it's very difficult for me to say I need to move on from or to move off and not take somebody like Jeremiah Love. I don't even know what the drop off is between him and the next guy offhand. I think it's pretty great if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's another running back that's projected in the first round? I don't even think so. I don't think there's another back that's even close.
So, yeah, I think with everything he could do for the team, it's going to be very difficult for me. Okay, let's get another one. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Let's say somehow, some way, Arvell Reese drops to 8. I've seen more say get him to 7, 6, right? So it's closer these days than it felt like it used to be. Arvell Reese is on the board. Do I have to blow your mind with this draft? With this trade in order for you to come off of picking Arvell Reese? Lance said yes, instantly. Lance,
yes.
Elaborate a little bit.
Yes. And I would just say if he does fall to that, I think there might be something there that might be a little bit concerning. I don't know if it would be character issues or there might be a medical issue. I'm just saying, if he were to drop that far, I don't see it happening. But for the sake of this argument, if Arvell Reese is available at 8, I'm sprinting to the podium. I'm turning that card in. I didn't even wait 15 minutes. I was like, here, you don't even have to wait the 15 minutes. Like, just go. I'm taking it because I think he's fantastic. I think he's probably his impact on the next level is just going to be insane. And so I would just say if he falls that far, there's something amiss between those teams that in the scouting process.
I look at Arvell Reese as a potential Micah Parsons impact type player.
Yeah.
Guy that when Micah Parsons came in the league, they weren't really sure. Is he going to be a hand in the dirt guy? Is he going to be an off the ball linebacker? But you know what? That joker just 8 plays, and he's one of 2 players ever to have 50 sacks in their first 4 seasons. I feel like Arvell Reese is that type of player. We might not know where we're going to line him up yet, but we know we're going to put that joker on the field and he's going to make plays. I think he's going to have that type of impact in the NFL, and there's no chance that it's going to have to be insane the amount of compensation that we would have to receive to move off of that pick if Arvell Reese is there. And I agree with John. Something has to be up if he drops to that point. But for the way that everybody's been talking about him, you watch him on tape, I think he's faster than what people think too. I think he'll run low 4.4. He'll be 255 pounds, probably, like just a freak of nature. Guy can wreak havoc against offenses. You want that type of player on your team. So I would not want to answer the phone, but I would to hear them out. But I'd probably be like John and be like, yeah, I'm good, and sprint to that podium.
Yeah, like, nah, fam. Who new number? Who this?
Look, man,
we good. We good.
Someone just said in the comments, Tim Dunn brought up, would you trade 8 to the Cowboys for 12 and 20? I'm going to say yes. I think that's probably a pretty easy yes. You give me 2 first-round picks in this. My first round pick is only 4 spots away. it would take a lot to be on the board for me to say no to this one.
I mean, they could potentially get a nice little corner out of it. If they go down, they could get somebody like a Jordan Tyson. They could. I mean, there's a lot you can do, and I mean, I think just the value for that 4 spots and you gain 20 as well. I mean, that'd be too hard for me to pass up.
I don't do it for Arvell Reese though. If Arvell Reese is there, I'm taking Arvell Reese.
Okay.
If it's Jeremiah Love, if it's Jeremiah Love, I'm doing the trade. If it's Arvell Reese, I'm selecting Arvell Reese.
I mean, if it was Caleb Downs, I don't know. I didn't even have a tough time. I don't know if I could pull the trigger on that either. But
12 and 20. I'm thinking about what you could get at 12 and 20 because I think you could get a very similar caliber player at 12, right? Like, there's a chance that you do get Jordan Tyson at 12, Carnell Tate at 12. Like, it's a chance you get one of these players at that spot. And then at 20, you could get a Sonny Styles, possibly a Sonny Styles. I think he'll be interesting to see where he goes. You can get guys like that towards the back end of the first round. That's a tough package for me to say. I think there's a very limited amount of players that would get me this. And I think you have to give up a little more than 8 for this. I would say you probably have to give up
something back
in the mid round, in the mid rounds. But to get 2 picks in the top 20, it'd be worth it. I'll look at the trade chart real quick while y'all talk.
I mean, it would depend on the team how. And I mean, this brings up, obviously, Saints will send something back. I mean, there's no question. Yes. They would, in this scenario, they would probably trade their 2nd round pick or 3rd round pick back. I just feel like there's no way that it makes it work unless they lead with that and say it. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. Saints just don't have that kind of luck. I know we've seen teams throw out.
But I mean, the Cowboys could, if it's a Jeremiah Love situation, the Cowboys could just knowing that the teams right behind us are teams that need running backs, and there is only one 1st round caliber running back in this draft, and the Saints need a back. So it could be like, well, we need a back ourselves, but what are you willing to offer? Well,
that's right.
No. We need 12 and 20. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, if you don't fall head over heels for Jeremiah Love, he quietly could become one of the best draft trade pieces that you could have. When you look at what is right after the Saints, the next 4-5 picks could be really running back hungry. I didn't think about that. Lance brought it up, but we're not done with this game. We're going to keep pushing, moving forward, because we're going to have a couple of players who I think may have some split answers. I hope have some split answers, and we'll see how this goes as we continue with the Saints Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think, there has to be a better way. And guess what? It is. The name of it is Quo. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. That's Quo, Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. No one ever sits there and thinks about, I can't wait to go through the most complicated ways to talk to 3 people, knowing I have 5 more I have to discuss. Quo takes all of the difficulties out of it and makes it easy for you. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically logs calls, summarizes conversations, and highlights the next step, so details never slip through the cracks. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnfl. That's QUO.com/lockedonnfl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. As we continue with the Saints Squad Show, we're continuing to put our GM hat on. We got Lance Moore, John Hendrix, Darrion Gray, and we're all trying to break down which of these players will make us say, you are going to have to give us a crazy deal. And we've talked about an Arvell Reese. We talked about a Jeremiah Love. I would say fan favorite and fan dream. So let's get into some players who maybe don't fall in that category. David Bailey is on the board at 8. Is it going to be a tough sell? John's already kind of sighing. Is it going to be a tough sell to get David Bailey off your mind, even with the call?
I mean, it's tough for me because I really do like David Bailey. I think him and Ruben Bain are pretty good consolation prizes if you don't get Arvell Reese. But again, Arvell Reese is kind of like that 101. He's in a league of his own, I feel like, in a way. But look, David Bailey is a great one. I'd be very curious because, again, this is why I always say the free agency, because if they do have Cam back and Chase Young's back and Carl Granderson is around still, and then figuring that out, a player like that, where do they fit? What's the playing time going to be like? Like, how soon can they make the impact? Is it going to be Chase and this rookie? Is that the division going forward? Because I'm all about getting extra pass rushers. And I think that's the biggest thing is how far am I trading down? And can I still get Ruben Bain potentially if I don't get a David Bailey? I just think those are probably between those two and Reese, those are the hottest ones out there in the first round that the Saints could potentially get. Reese, maybe not so much, but man, I'm split on this one, but I'm gonna have to probably, for this argument, say probably not, given how the rest of the board would fall.
Okay, Lance.
I wouldn't have a problem listening to the offers. I like David Bailey. I think he's a real player. I think he's one of those guys that could be a top 10 guy. He also could be back end of the first round type guy, just depending on how he tested this throughout this process, how his health kind of ends up being, as they go through the combine and the combine rechecks with all that stuff. But put him in the same class as Arvell Reese and Ruben Bain. That's no disrespect to him. I feel like he's earned the right to be a first round guy. But I think there's other guys that we could potentially get if he goes at some point in the first round, in the later rounds, whether it's a day 2 pick or even day 3 picks. There are plenty of edge rushers in this draft. I don't know that there's plenty of game changers. And I feel like David Bailey's kind of like in the middle of that group, right? Like you've got the two, to me, that are the extreme game changing guys in Bain and Reese. And then you've got a bunch of other guys. I feel like David Bailey and Akeem Mesidor are kind of that middle tier group. But I think you get productivity in some really good athletic players not in the first round of this draft. So if we have him there, the team is calling on us to give up something that we like to hear. I don't think I would have any problem doing that, knowing that we're obviously going to get some form of compensation as well as, the opportunity to draft another good player later on in the draft.
All right. The phone's ringing. The phone is ringing, and it's Baltimore. Baltimore is telling you, we will give you our 3rd and our 5th. You go down to 14. So Baltimore's at 14. We'll give you a 3 and a 5 to drop down 6 spots. What are we saying?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
I don't know. I don't know if I want that extra 5th, but the 3rd one's enticing. I just don't know for 4 spots, picking up a 3rd and a 5th. I'm greedy when it comes to that too, because if they want that, sure. I think a team like Kansas City probably could use a pass rusher too, because they were not good at getting after quarterback last year. They need a lot in Kansas City. It's really going to be interesting to see what they do this year, especially in free agency and stuff. But if that's the case, and I'm dropping 4 spots,
6 spots,
man, or 6 spots. I'm sorry, 6.
That might make it even worse. That might make it even tougher.
Makes it worse for me. That's why I'm saying that 3rd's nice, but I mean, I might want to see y'all got an extra 3rd. Y'all got any extra 3rds in there or something? Like the Tyrone Bickham's. Y'all got an extra 3rd?
You were talking about
or a future 3rd.
You were saying you want the 2. Let's say, all right, we'll give you the 2, but you got to throw something in. What are you throwing in order to get the
Cesar Ruiz? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I know it would be a draft pick. I mean, I think we also forget that. I mean, it's not as common, but players still can be traded during the draft. I mean, that's something that can happen. Knowing this team, if they're getting a 2nd, so you're saying there's a 1st. I'm trading down 6 spots. Yeah. I'm going to get a 2nd out of this one. This year 2nd, or is it next year 2nd?
This year 2nd, but you got to give something up. Because we don't want to give you the 2. We want to give you a 3 and a 5. But you want the 2. All right. What are you willing to add on to the deal to make this 2 worth it?
I mean, 4. I feel like Yeah, I was gonna say one of the 4s, but they're gonna probably want the 3rd. I was gonna say that's gonna be kind of the tough one there is, and if they want a 3rd, I'd say they got to get next year's 3rd.
Okay. All right. Now I'll pivot to the wide receivers and tell me if you feel any different about these guys, but I'm going to lump them all together, right? You have Lemon, Tate, Tyson. Any of those 3 make you say, I got to pick them right here at 8? If so, who is it?
Tyson.
And Tyson, if Tyson's there, well, Lance said 7 minutes of Tyson highlights. So I poked my fist in the air when I seen that. I said, we got him. He's on Team Tyson now.
100%.
So Tyson would make you say it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I just think for where this team is at and how the roster is currently constructed, the athleticism, the competitiveness, the toughness, the tough playmaking ability, like, I mean, he's what this offense is missing. Somebody who plays the way that he does, aggressive. Like, he is not quite as big, but he reminds me a lot of Puka Nacua. How he plays, how he attacks football, how he absorbs contact, how he runs away from people when people don't think he's super fast. Like, the dude is nice. And I watched him live a couple times this season, but in one game, you don't necessarily see it all the time, but you see it a couple times, like, oh man, this dude is pretty good. But then when you see like the season highlight tape, you're like, wait, this dude is a dog. Like, I love Tate, right? Columbus, Ohio, here we are, Columbus Public Schools. I'm an Ohio State guy. I love Carnell Tate. I think he's a smooth route player. I just think Tyson is a different type of player. And I think we need that type of player on this offense. I'm not saying that Tate or Lemon aren't tough players. I just think that Tyson is on a different level as far as his toughness goes. And I just think he would be a great addition to this offense, even more so than a Jeremiah Love, in my opinion, because I do think that deep down, Kellen Moore really wants to throw the football. I mean, he's a former quarterback himself. And if we've got a guy like that, I mean, it just helps Olave to be even better of a player, like Devon Bailey, Jawan. It's going to help all these guys be better players because you have a guy like that out there with you.
I would just say that his medical checks are going to be huge for sure. Like his medical checks are going to be absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me a guy like that is brought in for a good bit of top 30 visits, because in the top 30 visits, some people are like, oh, well, that's definitely who they're like. It's to get more information to test these people out. Like, that's just kind of what it is. A lot of the medical questions and stuff that, if there's any concerns, you may not run at the combine. He may not run at his pro day. I mean, or he may not run at the combine, but run at his pro day. I think those are things to keep an eye out when you do that. The thing I like about this conversation is them actually investing draft capital that isn't day 3 or undrafted rookie free agent. No offense, Lance, but spending but Lance's exceptional role. Lance, obviously, we know that, but like spending.
I got picked by the Browns anyway, so it wasn't safe.
But I mean, that's it. But like, I mean, you know what I'm saying is them actually would allocating an actual valuable resource to a quality player instead of just hoping that the day 3 guy or the undrafted rookie pans out. Like, you've rolled that dice enough and spun that wheel, and you've lucked out several times, but also it has hurt you a lot. And so I think that they really need to go in and invest in that receiver position. I do love the concept of Devon Bailey. I like the concept of Jalen Polk, Trey Palmer, all these other guys, and Bub Means coming back and stuff. But are you telling me I'm satisfied there?
Nope. Negative, sir.
I need more. Negative. I'm greedy. Give me more.
I think in the beginning of February, we should all be greedy, right? I mean, we haven't had free agency yet. We haven't had draft. It's the time to be greedy. I'll go with one more because can't get everybody. And we've already kind of talked about 2 edge rushers, so I'll leave Ruben Bain off. But Caleb Downs. And I'll ask you this. If they're offering a 2, if Caleb Downs is on the board and you can get a 2nd round pick to trade back, are you doing it, John?
And I'm assuming Alante is out of the mix here, so that's what's tough about it. Is he could be somebody that on this back end, and golly, I just can't do it. I can't. I would love to, and I love it, but Caleb Downs he's that dude, man. He's that dude. He was, so last year my guy was Jahdae Barron. That was my guy. I just loved me some Jahdae Barron, and Caleb Downs is that dude for me this year. Is that I just love watching him play, everything that he does. And given what the Saints need on defense on the back end, especially post Justin Reed, like they got Jonas Anchor and Justin Reed's obviously a free agent, and I'm not saying he's going anywhere anytime soon, and then they obviously brought back a Julian Blackmon and such. And so I love the fact of adding to that. And Caleb Downs is just that dude, man. And you can't tell me you put on this tape and not understand what this guy brings to your table. I mean, it's just insane. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm Caleb Downs. Like as great a player as Arvell Reese and Ruben Bain are, I would argue that Caleb Downs is an even better player than those guys are, and somebody that the moment that you insert him on your defense, whole defense becomes better. He's a guy that could play probably 4 different positions on this defense and be good at all of them. Like I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't miss tackles. He's got incredible ball skills, an elite return man. So once he gets the ball in his hands, he's trying to do something with it. Like scoring points with your defense makes your overall team better. I think he's a guy that should not make it to 8, but if he does and we don't draft him, you guys, I went off last year. Oh, it's gonna be real bad this year. It will be so bad if we don't pick him, because he is that type of playmaker and just an overall good dude. He's young, a true junior. Like he's got the bloodline. Obviously, his brother and his father, NFL players. Like what is there not to love about this player? And he's a champion. He's just been one of the best players in college football over the last 3 years. And I think he's going to be an even better pro.
Yeah, he's the guy I'm sprinting to the podium in the first 10 seconds. I'm like, I don't need to talk to anybody. That's exactly what I'm doing. I mean,
he's the type of player that doesn't matter who's on your current roster. If he's there, you take him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I'll add this, and before we move, because we do have to go, he's also a leader. And I think the Saints lack that in youth. The Saints, I don't know who the Saints' young defensive leaders are. I know who their older ones are, and I don't know how long they're going to be here. I know he could be that leader. So I'll give that as an extra bonus for him. Is something the Saints don't currently have, in my opinion. Let's move forward, because everybody is excited. All right. The Saints are going to France, right? So my French teacher would be so ashamed that I used oui to say France. I'm sorry, Madame Blanton. All right, I just want to apologize to you, Madame Blanton. No, I apologize. Okay, it's entertainment, and I'll give more entertainment as we continue with the Saints Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. As soon as the date drops, whether it's October 25th versus the Browns or not, whenever the date drops, I cannot wait to run to Gametime to see how much these tickets are going to be. Not because I like window shopping, but because I think this is somewhere I have to be. This game, first time ever in Paris, we'll talk about it in a second. This is the time that Gametime is going to be running it up. But they're going to give you the best prices, unlike some of these other places. They're going to be giving you the all-in pricing. I hate when I go somewhere for a ticket and it's $60, but then I get there and all of a sudden it's $60 more in fees, and I didn't sign up for that. But then it's like, sometimes I just say, forget it. No, Gametime gives me everything I need to know up front. They tell me the price up front. They give me the view up front. They give you the best deals. I don't have to go anywhere else to try to compare prices. I've done that 4 or 5 times. Every single time I'll come running back to Gametime. I don't need to do it anymore. So even if you don't want to go or want to wait till France trip, right? Local basketball games, baseball games, you can go to the circus. I bought 2 tickets to the Universal Circus on Gametime. I love Gametime. It has everything I possibly could want, whether that's just straight entertainment, concerts, the football games I love to go to, basketball games I love to go to. Gametime is the place that I will be. If you haven't used it yet, use the code Locked On and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. That's using the code Locked On once you download the Gametime app and create an account to get $20 off your first purchase. As we're wrapping up today's episode of the Saints Squad Show, we're here talking about France. Everybody is excited. I think we kind of felt this was on the way, right? You seen Gayle Benson, you see Demario Davis taking a trip out to France. It felt like the precursor for a game that was coming up very soon, right? And that's what we got. This today, actually, on Monday, they officially announced that the Saints were going to be playing in France. No date or opponent confirmed yet, but it has been reported before that it'll be October 25th versus the Browns. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but that has been reported if you want to start planning a little bit. How are we feeling about France? I think it's meant to be, but Lance, how are you feeling about this move?
Look, I think it makes sense. And from overall NFL league-wide perspective, this is great, right? They're continuing to grow the arm internationally and I guess pick up more fans abroad. That's what this thing is all about. And for me, I'm trying to understand, is this Saints marriage with France going to end up being essentially like the Jaguars marriage with London, right? Are we going to be the French home team that plays a home game over there every single season? Is that the angle? And for me, it's unfortunate to lose a home game. Like our fans deserve to be able to show up at home and start to play 8 or 9 games a year, add on the preseason 1 or 2 that you get. It's unfortunate that they'll lose out on that game, but from a league-wide and team-wide perspective, I get it. I wonder what the recourse is for the season ticket holders who can't make it to France for a football game, right? It's not as easy as, hey, we're going to fly over there on Friday and fly back after the game on Sunday. Like, you know, people have to plan a lot more for that situation. But it's pretty cool to be the first NFL team or teams to play over there in a regular season game, or I think a game ever. You know, and you know, the International Pathway Program is something that's taking off even more in the NFL. So maybe we'll be seeing some more players here in the NFL in the near future. And you know, as somebody who played overseas multiple times in my career, I thought it was dope. Like I think it's super cool for guys who have never traveled out of the country before, or especially traveled overseas to Europe or anywhere else, or there to get an opportunity to do so with the organization. And you know, that to me is another piece of the puzzle that doesn't get talked much. It is really like a regular season, like week, as far as your schedule goes. You're just a foreign country. So, you know, trying to get a little bit of time away to go explore and learn about the place that you're at is super cool as well.
Yeah, it was it 08? Y'all went to London, right? And played the Chargers? I think it was 08. And then what was the other one? Was it with the Lions or was it
15 with the Lions? We played the Chiefs in London again. Yep. Yeah.
London's an awesome place. I remember going to cover the game in 21 when they played the Vikings out there, and it was crazy because I think the way it's in, because it's like 6 hours ahead of Central Time, so it's like 3:30 a.m. there right now. But like when you got in, you fly in at night. Like we left at Charlotte, or flew over to Charlotte to New Orleans, and then as soon as we're getting into London, the sun's coming up and all that. It's like kind of messes with your mind. And then I remember I had to drop the wife off at the hotel and go to this rugby field like they had practice on and stuff, and it was just kind of like, it was just a cool experience to be out there. And in Tottenham Stadium, man, the game out there was an amazing environment. It was a really cool thing that they did. I mean, it was so fun being at London, taking all the tubes and stuff. And in Paris, man, look, I mean, Eiffel Tower obviously is a big deal, and all the things that L'Arc de Triomphe and all the fun stuff. I got a little bit of French in me. My French teacher would be a little bit, you know, proud of me, Madame Blanc. Yeah. And Madame Meunier. So at any rate, yeah, look, I think it's an awesome thing to grow the game. I think what sucks is, and especially if they are going to get an 18th game, I think that's going to end up becoming 2 international games for each team. Is if I'm, putting the writing on the wall.
I hope not.
No, I just see it, and everybody's got to realize this extra home game, that was always the plan for the NFL. Is it wasn't going to go to the stadium; it was to grow their overseas market, because overseas is going to bring in new dollars, new revenue, and that NFL is all about the mighty dollar. Mm-hmm. You heard Goodell or maybe you didn't hear him in his address today at Super Bowl saying he thought the officials do a really good job. What do you expect them to say? Come on. Anyways, rant over on that one. Yeah. I think it's a fantastic thing for the game. If you can go to a Saints game, you should always go. If you can go to an international game, my creed would just be like, when are you ever going to get this chance again? You just don't know. If you can swing it, go. I think it's going to be fantastic. Saints Paris, or the Saints in France, or the French Saints, whatever the handle is, they've got a pretty good following over there. So that's good. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get to the Jaguar level, right? I think that, well, it'll be interesting because when they start to find these new countries that they want to start going to, it feels like they become to be rapid, right? Like, oh, we're just going to keep going every year. If it's a France game sprinkled in every now and then, maybe once every 4 years, right? So I don't want every time you get an extra home game for that home game to go to Paris. But I might be able to get with every other. So I guess that'd be every 4 years. I might say, okay, cool. The Saints can be a part of that. But I wouldn't want it to have the relationship where Jacksonville has a secondary home where they just go play sometimes 2 home games in London, I think. So I think it's a great partnership. Things are great in moderation. I'll say that. But I think it's a phenomenal partnership. I just think it makes too much sense. If the Saints weren't a part of this at least the first game, it would have been malpractice. Like, how could you not put the Saints in the first game in Paris? I can't wait to see who they play. I don't think it'll matter, but that's going to be a true home game away from home for the Saints. I think it's phenomenal, in my opinion. I'll try to be there, whatever I can do.
Yep. Get your Franks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that John saying the 18th game and each team playing 2 games overseas, I think that would be crazy. From a player's perspective, that week they try to make it as normal as possible. It's not normal at all. And playing a game and then jump on a plane to go back to wherever your team is one thing. Playing a game and then jumping on a plane and going back across the pond is a whole nother thing. And there was teams, I believe, this year that played overseas and did not have a bye week after coming back. That to me is a failure in the scheduling. Like, they gotta take care of these guys and allow them, after they play abroad, to come home and that following week to be their bye week. Schedule makers got to get it together. That should not happen, where a team is coming home and then having that following weekend. I don't like that at all. But everything else, I understand, because like John said, it's about the money. The bottom line is the most important thing to the league. And as long as there's other avenues to continue to grow that bottom line, they're keep exploring those avenues.
Yeah, I think in general, I love the expansion for the game, right? Like, let's take the Saints out of it for a second. I love the expansion for the game. I love seeing them going to these different venues. For most of my time growing up, it was just London, right? Like, all the games were in London, and that was cool. But seeing them go to Mexico City or go to Brazil, now go to France, seeing all of these variety, Germany, right? Like, I think these things are important, especially if I start thinking about football versus basketball, and football is like the American sport, and they talk about basketball being so worldwide. I think expanding that a broad footprint is going to be extremely important. It's going to be extremely beneficial. I don't know if you ever catch up to basketball in that aspect, but it is going to be a great addition to have to you, so you're not looked at as only an American sport. Only Americans care about football, right? Matter of fact, we don't even call it football over here. That's soccer, right? Like, I think that having that growth will be great for the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to show my age, but I remember when they used to play preseason games in Tokyo, like the American Bowl or Tokyo and stuff. That was I remember Saints and the Eagles were one of the games in 93, if I'm not mistaken. So that was one of the big things that they did. That's preseason. I mean, it's just a matter of time before they start going into more markets, because every offseason or every year, there's a team that has the international marketing rights in a particular foreign country, whatever the case may be. And so it's only going to expand. It's only going to get more. And the team that gets the international marketing rights is going to be the team that plays there someday. It's just going to be how it is.
Yeah, well, we'll see. The Rams have South Korea, Japan, and I think China. They got a few of the Asian markets. So it'll be interesting if they play the next game in Tokyo. Will probably be a Rams game if you go based off those exclusive rights. But if the Saints go to Tokyo with them, be here to listen about it. Got Lance here, John here, Darrion here. Make sure that you're also checking out Ross and Dylan on their socials, as well as all in the bio below. So until the next time, which will be Thursday, take care, stay blessed, come back to the Saints Squad Show. Peace.